You're welcome back to the AM Club here on MX24. Thank you so much for staying through with us. And if you're just joining in, thank you so much for choosing us this morning. Again, this is the AM Club. My name is Miriam Uduak-Menta. I want to say a happy birthday before we get into our Lifestyle Daily segment this morning. I want to say big happy birthday to Victor Tay. He is the special protocol person to Prophet Akwesi Agyeman-Prempeh and also the PA to Prophet Akwesi Agyeman-Prempeh. In fact, you're an incredible human being. We see you, brother. Thank you so much for all that you do for the body of Christ, and we really, really appreciate you. Happy birthday, brother. You know what to do. Paint the country red. Anywho, now let's move away from that. Today's conversation is a very, very exciting one and very educative one. We're going to be talking about digital expansion, now the role of reliable electricity supply in Ghana's 5G rollout. And I know you've heard this conversation, probably have been excited about it, but yes, apparently the electricity of Ghana, can stifle the growth of this particular rollout. And so we're going to get into that conversation. And joining us in the studio this morning is Kwesi Etuahene, Executive Director, Africa Center for Digital Transformation, ACDT. Good morning. And later on the show, via Zoom, we're going to be having Evelyn Kwate, Executive Vice President, Africa Center for Digital Transformation. Divine S.K. Agbeti, Cyber Security Lead, British Petroleum UK, and Head of Advisory, ACDT. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well.
You have the smile of the Kwesi. Especially Kojo. Especially Kojo. Not all Kojo.
Don't start.
Don't start. Because what are you going to do?
Thank you so much.
Or else you won't get your 5G.
Wait. I'm talking to 5G man. Good morning. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to have you in the studio. And it's good to know that you are a big JKD fan.
Oh, yes, I have always been. You've always been. I've followed this progression from high school connect to campus-based to the last one that you were.
TVXY.
Not TVXY. It was an entertainment program. Oh, help me out.
E Extra?
No. Are you saying E Extra?
Foresight.
Foresight TV. Oh, yeah, big one.
Brother, you know the brand.
I've even lost count of you.
Bro,
I've followed you, yeah.
Shake me. Shake me. Why you idea? Anyway, this is about you. Let's talk about the 5G rollout conversation that has come out, digital expansion, the ambition of Ghana right now, and conversation have sparked up that the fact that we have unstable power supply in Ghana, there could be a major stifling of the growth of this particular thing. Tell us how power comes to play in what you call it. I mean, power in terms of electricity power comes to play in rolling out this 5G.
Thank you very much. To help put the conversation in a very good perspective so that the viewers can understand what's happening in the country. As we speak now, there's a company called NextGen Infraco has a sole mandate to roll out a 5G exclusively for the next 10 years. What it means is that in the next 10 years, no other company has the rights to run the 5G except this company.
Right.
The background to the story is such that in the midst of chaos last week, the Minister of Communication and Digitalization had a press conference where she indicated on government policy to want to give the 5G ambitions to NextGen Infraco to embark on. On the 11th of March 2024, the Minister of Education again wrote a letter to the NCA boss instructing the NCA boss to proceed in finishing the licensing, the frequency licensing that empower this company to roll out the activities. Now, the background of the story, which came to the light with the help of Manasseh Azuri Awuni, makes the entire conversation in a different critical look. According to Manasseh Azuri, The company was incorporated 16th of August last year.
Last year.
By 22nd last year of August, the president issues an executive approval for the company, barely a week, for the company to be given this contract. That is not the big part of my worry as a member of the Africa Center for Digital Transformation. Our worry is the fact that we have not yet set up the foundation to be able to roll out a successful 5G implementation.
Wow.
There are two questions that are begging. Why do we need a 5G? Have we exhausted 4G? What are the preparation in terms of the country's digital strategy in the next few years ahead of us? Countries that typically have been able to roll out 5G, that need 5G, are countries that are running smart cities, countries that are using automation cars, like cars that nobody needs anybody to drive. As we speak now, last night, I didn't have light in my house, and I'm sure many people don't have light. Any telecommunication station and digital centers currently running 2G, 3G, 4G require a certain number of units in terms of backup power. If you are running a 5G, you will need more backup power, which comes at a cost. And by extension, the taxpayers' money going into that area. So we believe that as a nation and as younger people, it's about time we mount up the right pressure on governments and be interested in what government is doing so that we can solve the foundational things. Ensure that we have electricity running 24/7 before you embark on some ambitious things like running a 5G.
What could this look like? Again, you've talked about laying the foundation properly before we roll out. But what are the implications if we go ahead to make this 5G thing happen? What are the implications? What could we be seeing?
Okay. Typically, if the government of Ghana does not focus the best of their energy in solving the electricity problem, and yes, they roll out a 5G, what's going to happen is that monies are going to be paid to this next-gen infraco, and the work that needs to be done will not be done. So eventually there will be a space where another create, loot, and share theory happens.
Looks like, okay, so for you...
Okay.
I want to understand it this way before we continue. So if we don't have enough power,
yes,
the 5G is almost impossible.
Exactly.
Okay. Please continue.
Proceeding, if you have a 5G being run, and most of the hospitals are using medical equipment that needs to run quite faster. You are using the 5G, you have medical equipment on the 5G, yet you don't have stable power. What it means is that if a medical equipment goes offline within a space of an operation or something like that, you have more consequences as compared to other 4G or 2G.
So if you're on the 4G and the light goes out, there's a higher tendency that you could operate...
because a 4G or a 2G requires a lesser power, backup power. That's a bit of the dynamics.
Until this conversation came up from my producer for us to look into, I never knew that our internet is solely dependent on power supply.
Yes.
So countries like Nigeria that have zero light, now zero, because as I said yesterday, their issue has gotten worse. They cannot even go to that point of thinking of 5G.
Yes.
Let's come back to Ghana. Now you're explaining to us some of the implications that we could see if this project is rolled out.
Yes. You see, many of the Pan-Africanists who have followed the likes of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah would say that in terms of developmental agenda, oftentimes we go and we come back to most of the things he was trying to do. A nation seeking to develop must take electricity very important and must prioritize it and invest in it because a lot of our sectors depend on it. All right. Currently, we live in a nation where just a couple of months ago, people were mounting pressure on the energy minister to bring timetable. And the timetable became another conversation on its own. I don't want to go there. It is important that the government of Ghana deal with the people of Ghana in a manner that generations that would come up will be proud that their parents lived before them. In that spirit, we should focus on fixing electricity. So we have a plan that in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years, in the next 15 years, we may want to roll out a 5G. Brilliant idea. In the next 5 years, the best of our energy is going into stable electricity, making sure that major institutions have reliable power. Once that is done, it becomes much more easier to build on it. But the current power situation that we have, look, sometimes we try to massage the reality. If you are looking at the areas in Accra that have power 24/7, it may be the security-prone areas. Maybe cantonments or Ridge or Kanda or something. These are highly security-prone areas, so lights going off may be an issue. If you live somewhere around Medina or Adenta or the outskirts of Accra,
my area,
or your area,
Oyarifa,
there will be an issue. How much more people who live out of Accra? You know, until recent, the Ameri Power conversation, all the stations were in Accra. So they were now trying to move one of the power stations to the middle belt, just so that people in the north and the middle belt can have some light.
Okay, Kwesi, I'm privy to the information that since its inception, I think 4G in 2015, it's been only been able to achieve 15% penetration nationwide. So my question here is, what are some of the energy efficient practices that we could adopt so we could effectively roll out 5G?
Good. We are fortunate to have a lot of examples to copy. Botswana is currently running the 5G. Madagascar is running the 5G. Namibia, amazing work they are doing. Then our country can explore and move a bit far from hydro electricity generation. We can explore solar, explore wind as a nation. Invest in wind energy, invest in solar energy, at least to focus on telecommunication empowerment. That puts you in a position where you can even get more devices connected on your 4G, because the essence of having 4G, 5G is capacity, is speed. All right? So if you have a 5G, you end up having more gadgets being able to connect. You end up having a faster speed. But if you don't explore other options of energy sources, and all you are doing is having a dam somewhere, you are building another dam somewhere, and anytime there's an issue, you even open and people's community get flooded, and there's another whole humanitarian issue to solve.
Misguided priorities, you think?
You know, yes.
Okay, so we have Evelyn Kwarting, Executive Vice President, Africa Center for Digital Transformation, joining us as well, and Divine S.K. Agbeti joining us via Zoom. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
How are you?
Good morning.
Awesome. How are you doing?
Thank you. Fine, quite well, thank you.
Awesome. It's good to have you here in the studios, joining us via Zoom. Now, we're talking about the 5G rollout conversation that has sparked up, and obviously, it's because of our electricity issues we're facing in Ghana, and we've been having conversations in here with Kwesi. He has touched on a few things for us, but I'd like you to quickly jump into the conversation by addressing some of the power issues that we could, power options we can explore as a country. He was talking about the wind and solar. But it looks like this country is not going to look at it anytime soon. So since we are already pushing, because we've seen it in this country several times, something will come up, we'll say that, no, don't go, before we know it passes. You know, and we'd have nothing. They would give us a good reason why the contract should go through. For you, what could we do if they continue to press for this deal to go through? what could we possibly do to be able to enjoy the 5G without any distraction, and also loss of money, because there's a lot of money they're going to be investing in this contract?
Thank you very much. So I will start off by saying that the the country Ghana, or the nation of Ghana, should first get a national strategy. That would already set a course for what we intend to do. Now we could talk about changing of electricity from hydro to solar, but if we do not have a national strategy that outlines a clear vision for where this country is going, we could deploy 5G and it would still not work. So first, let's have a national strategy. And in that national strategy, we could do a needs assessment to see, okay, we have hydropower. What other sources do we need? That's on one part. Two, if we are not going to get these other sources, as you mentioned, what other strategies can we put in place? Because as you rightly mentioned, only 15% of the mobile user network is enjoying 4G. Why do we then jump onto 5G? Another ball game altogether. And mind you, I don't know if you've shared it before. 5G depends on constant electricity. Now, and we know that we do not have constant electricity as a country. So back to your question, what are some of the things we should do to enjoy this the 5G? One is that we need a national strategy. Two, we need legal frameworks. We've heard of the next gen infra code coming. What are the legal frameworks that's guiding their actions?
Exactly.
Who is going to penalize them if they go out of bounds? And we are talking about, and 5G also brings up the conversation of cybersecurity issues. We are looking at huge data from the citizens. Who is going to be the watchdog over where this data goes? And as we are talking about generally digital economy, we are also looking at a point where, let's say, your bank details is connected, your bank details is connected, your Ghana card, so many things are connected online. So we are looking at login details, password. Who gets to be like the watchdog for all this data that would just go out? So these are some of the issues we should look at. Of course, putting electricity at the center. Yeah,
thank you so much for that. If we still have Divine Meski Agbeti on the line, let's have a quick one. Let me just move to you quickly. Do you have Divine on the line? Right. Please, can you
Yes, you have
unmute
me
for us?
here.
Awesome.
You have me.
In your opinion, and I know we've heard from Kwesi and of course Evelyn. In your opinion, can we bypass all these things that this amazing gentleman and Evelyn have? Can we go past them and still roll out 5G and not have major issues or loads of money? And do we need this at this time?
Yeah, first of all, we do need 5G.
Okay.
But the question here is, do we have the infrastructure for it? Currently, the answer is no. 5G actually
Please, can you
requires,
enable your video so that we can see you, if you don't mind? Because we can't see you.
Okay. I'm currently in office, and there's a strict kind of regulation on.
Okay, so we can't see you.
What you can see and what you can't see.
Sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So, first of all, it requires the use of large data, and large data also requires a data center to be used, which must be powered 24/7, and that means that the network itself must be powered 24/7. But within our current state, where we don't have enough capacity and electricity keeps going on and off, we are not actually in the position to actually roll out a 5G unless the government can do something about the power outages and ensure that we have a constant supply of electricity. Now, then the question you have asked is, can we bypass that? What is there? What can we do? I mean, there are so many things we can do to increase our capacity. Even if we want to maintain our hydroelectricity, then they have to actually increase the capacity of the hydro system. And also we have the renewable energy systems that are available. We have wind power or wind sources. We also have other sources such as the solar farms, which can be implemented.
Yeah.
So I believe that we can certainly do something about this within the country, but the country currently doesn't have the capacity
to handle
and it
the
doesn't have the
5G.
infrastructure needed to, yes.
Right.
So people will be paying massively for the network 5G,
Yeah.
but they will not actually get its value. So it's just a name. Yes, it's just a name, a brand within the country that doesn't work.
Right.
Okay.
I'd like us to stay with you. So please stay with us, right? Kwesi is in the studio. I want us to find out from you, how can government collaborate with other, private institutions or is it even an option to collaborate with private institutions to generate power for the country? Because it looks like internally we are refusing to do the needful. We're refusing to explore, because I don't know how we are 60-something years old and we've not explored the solar option. We've not explored the wind option. I don't understand. Personally, I'm frustrated by this country a little bit.
Some people are doing that privately.
Yeah, because what can they do? When you go to certain some of the new estates that are being built, especially in my area there, most of it give you the option of solar. And so that's what I've been bragging about. That's what I've been bragging about. So private institutions have started initiating this. I remember in 2016 there was a gentleman that came to Ghana and brought the project to speak to government about it, and it was actually rubbished. So right now he's doing it for individuals. But we have these, I don't know why we have not done that, but can we collaborate with some of these institutions, and what could that mean for the country if you look at it?
Let me even blow your mind by saying this first. Just exactly about 2 weeks ago, the National Development Planning Commission has launched a national development agenda. An entire research that the commission may have spent a year or two working on with their fine PhD brains. They launched it 2 weeks ago. None of the flag bearers is talking about it. It was discussed in 1 or 2 days by some media houses that were invited. That was it. So it tells you that, look, we live in a country where the politician group for agendas that are mutually beneficial to themselves. A couple of years ago, there were conversations about PDS and all those things. The intention behind was to bring some private people onto the table of electricity and power supply. If you look at the contract, you realize that the contract puts the country in a disadvantage.
Yes, and most of the contracts that we have seen this country be involved in always puts the country in a place of disadvantage.
So you make one step forward and make 10 times backwards. Even though there are private people who are even Ghanaians who can help, they are unable to. Look, this conversation about 5G, MTN has approached the Ministry of the National Communication Authority several times to want to run. MTN has got the infrastructure to run it. The government's position, which I agree with, is that, look, MTN is a foreign entity. We cannot develop as a nation by putting our best option in the hands of a foreign company. Should MTN decide to leave Ghana today, which I don't see it happening soon though, but should they decide to leave, what happens to us? So let's put Ghanaians in the lead so that we can build our own digital infrastructure. I'm all for it. But what is the technicalities around that intention? What's the foundation in terms of preparation to succeed in that direction?
Great. I want to ask Evelyn this question. Evelyn, if you're on, please kindly answer me to this. With regards, should we roll this 5G? And we do know, or we've established the fact that we need constant, reliable supply of electricity. Now, we are also going to know that that would even come in with the increase of tariffs as far as electricity is concerned.
Yes.
How prepared are we as Ghanaians to accept this? And would we also adapt to it? Because we are already facing something right now in Ghana. So if we're going to be having constant supply of electricity, definitely tariffs will go up. How prepared are we?
Thank you very much for the question. I think I would continue right from where PC ended, that there are certain steps we need to take, and one of them would be a public awareness. We cannot just launch this in like few months and then impose it on citizens. They are going to rebel, because then, for instance, tariffs will go up. But, to the regular Ghanaian, what is 5G for me? What would it do for me? So one, public awareness is very important, so that we can all rally behind. Should they deploy 5G, we can all rally behind it. That's one. And two, besides the awareness, we should also have some sort of training, so not just 5G is there and all of that, but we should create opportunities such that citizens will get to know, how do I benefit from 5G? If like a Ghanaian knows that, okay, getting 5G would benefit me concretely, A, B, C, they might not have an issue paying the tariffs. Okay, but if it's just like, okay, I've randomly heard of 5G, everybody's talking about 5G, but as a business owner, how does it affect, or how does it improve my life? That's one part. So in terms of tariff, I think that the awareness should be done.
Okay, so that
Now,
awareness. All right.
okay.
No, go ahead.
Please carry on.
Yeah, so still on that, still on the steps, we need to, as Divine mentioned and PC also mentioned, we would need to upgrade the existing infrastructure. Because if we do not upgrade the existing, we want 5G for what speed, but if we do not upgrade the existing infrastructure, only like a section of the citizenry would get the 5G. So in the end, we'll come back to square one to say, we are implementing 5G, but then we do not see the benefit. So I think the whole idea of launching 5G in the next 6 months is a bit ambitious, and we should take a step back.
Okay.
We are not in competition with any country. We should take a step back and see what makes sense for Ghana, and how can we, realistically transition from 4G to 5G. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I want us to stick on this. And Divine, if you're on, this question is to you. Evelyn's early submission, she did mention that with 5G we could, incorporate our bank accounts and whatnots and this and that, I want to know the risks involved, because you are pertaining to cybersecurity. Should we not have enough electricity supply? What are the risks involved with that? Should the thing just go off just like that? Probably Mimi would be able to tap into my bank account in one way or the other.
Is that even possible?
What are the risks involved in this?
Thank you. In terms of technology risk, in those aspects, I don't think we as a country, we are ready to have our bank accounts or our financial wallets linked to things like this within the operational domain. Why am I saying that? First of all, we don't even have the oversight as to what kind of authentications are needed to go through the steps. And two, the larger population don't even like multi-factor authentication processes. Why am I saying so? For example, somebody who is very busy working or someone who is very busy in the market want to access his or her bank account using or through the new system, wouldn't want to go through a lot of authentication processes. So to me, we are not ready for these additions. But I believe there's a smaller portion of the population that is ready. So as Evelyn mentioned, the awareness is key. The education is key. And why we should actually apply different layers of security to reduce the risk. Because the risk there is very common. Cybercrime, which we all know is happening. people can just trick you and get into your phone or your system or your bank account to take money out. As we see, mobile money started, and along the line, a lot of mobile money frauds are happening. And also with our own WhatsApp systems, for example, people are so gullible and they click links. And once you click the link, you are somewhere else, and they take over your account and do what they want to do. But if you have multi-factor authentication or different layers of security, that wouldn't happen. Because it would actually prompt you to maybe answer some questions or add some code that will be forwarded to you. So by the time you go through that process, you are sure that this is not what you want to do, or if it's actually coming from yourself or a trusted source. So as you realize, you sent me a link for Zoom. I know it's for you, but it's a practice not to follow links. I'd rather follow the Zoom ID and also the passcode you have. Because if I have the practice of following a link, someone can then trick me in future that I'm coming to this station. By the time I click the link, they have access to my phone. They can do anything with my phone from a remote source. So I believe that the awareness is key, the education is key to the public, and especially those who really use the digital banking or the mobile wallet systems a lot.
Thank you very much, Divine. Now, we've talked about the negatives, we've talked about the risk. Now let's go to, let me play, we're doing the right thing. So some benefits. Let's see what it would look like if we pay attention to some of the advice that you've given on the show. For instance, we have constant power supply. 5G, is rolled out. What could be the economical benefits for Ghana, if you look at it?
The benefits are enormous, trust me. Ghana is a multi-dimensional country. Even though the southern part is quite dense, we have a number of people whose economic gains are centered in different parts of the corners of the country. So rolling a successful 5G means that everywhere you are in the country, you have an opportunity to connect to the internet in a faster space as you are in Accra. So, for instance, you travel to Pusiga to go and cover a story. You do not have to travel from Pusiga to Bolga to be at a certain place before you can connect to the internet, because some portions of the area you don't have access. A 5G can help address that issue. It opens up for many more devices to be connected. So across the country, you can have a lot of devices connected at the same time without network being jammed. A very typical scenario. For younger people who are watching, if you are applying to Legon, or they say they've opened the portal for accommodation at Legon, and they open it at 7 a.m., sometimes even by 7:05, you can't even have access. Because the system has jammed up. And it all depends on the network being used.
And they are talking about implementing
E-gates.
E-gates at the...
Yes, that's another interesting thing. Yesterday, another news broke by Manasseh Azuri's fourth estate that about 56 million was paid to a company to roll out internet free Wi-Fi in SHS.
I saw that.
And there's no evidence being done. The e-gates conversation, I believe that the World Bank has paid almost twice for that project, which we are hoping that the government of Ghana does not attempt to use the taxpayers' money to embark on that project. It's something that it should have been done long time. We are fortunate to have a vice president who is quite passionate about digitalization, which is good, and it's good for the center that I work with. However, we are hoping that the politics around the digital transformation conversation can tone down a bit, because as a nation, we should have a front where we all agree. And we should have a front where we can disagree. There are things that we should all agree on when it comes to the development of our nation. Because whether you are MPP or you are NDC or PNC or APC,
You're a Ghanaian at the end.
You are a Ghanaian at the end.
Yeah.
And you use these infrastructures anyways. So 5G is good. We need 5G, but our concern is the infrastructure being put in place so that you do not give license to an institution to become a wholesaler of 5G. What it means is that they would now be the one retailing to Airtel, Tigo, Telecel, and eventually maybe MTN. They will make the money, but do they have the infrastructure to get the work done? Big question.
In fact, the minority caucus.
Because that's the only concern I see in the room. I see the only concern is that, okay, let's do it, but would we be able to enjoy the product?
Exactly.
Would we get to a point where we are now coming to sit in another room discussing, we don't have 5G, oh, where's the money, oh, where's the money, oh, and then it's another 4 years.
Well, it becomes political again.
Again.
Yes.
You know,
because
so,
it feels like just the next gen Infraco is like a soul sourcing kind of entity. You get it?
Exactly.
And there's no transparency in there.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, this is a company that is distributing the 5G towards the other companies. And it looks...
Again, over here, we've talked about, you know, let's communicate and communicate effectively. Let's be a bit more transparent with the people. It's a big worry. I have listened through the entire conversation. I see that we could possibly do this, and it will be of great benefit to us. Looking at, you know, our neighboring countries and our other African countries employing this 5G thing, and it's working for them. However, here we are, having another big conversation on whether or not this is another looting and sharing conversation. Listen, we could go on and on about this, but all the advice that have been thrown onto this show, we have, we really appreciate it. We're hoping that someone heard it and they would give us the transparency that we need. As you have established, it's a good thing.
Yes.
But where is it going? When?
Yes. I mean, thank you so much. When I listen to minds like yours and many other younger people in the country, I am energized and my hope is restored because the ideas being displayed are good ideas. So the idea of seeking to build a 5G for a nation like Ghana that is 67 years old, it's a brilliant idea. Younger people can pick up those ideas, build conversations around it, come to the table to say that, look, in the next 20 years, some of you may be older people and you may be weaker to even implement this. We want to understand. We are putting forward these questions so that we get the right answers. In your absence, we are prepared, we are in a good position to continue what you've started. These parts of the contract that you are doing for the next 10 years, we are enthused about it, but I think that you can do A, B, C, D, and readjust. This is the foundation of it. I believe that's the purpose of these conversations.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we are looking forward into a future where the younger people would be interested in the governance of our nation.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because many of us are enthused about the entertainment, the lifestyle, and everything. But look, the governance of the nation and the framework affect your dailies.
Absolutely.
Affects the monies you earn, affects how you live your life, how you raise your family, and everything. So this is a call to all younger people across the nation watching MX24 AM Club that, look, take a closer look at things happening. It's not the first time contracts of this sort is coming up. Couple of years we've had Kelny GVG contracts coming up where some companies were being put together to be assurance providers and to ensure that telecommunication companies pay the right taxes to government. You check the people behind the company and their unknown faces.
Yes.
You know, it's same with NextGen Infraco.
We can't see them. We don't know who it is.
You can't trace it to anyone.
Anyway, you know what? Let's focus on what you do, and hopefully this conversation continues. We don't have.
Can we throw it off to the vice president?
Let him start. Let the vice president give us light. He's the executive director. He's the best person to start the conversation. Africa Center for Digital Transformation. What do you do?
Yes. So we are a public policy think tank. We are largely into capacity building, community engagements. Our focus largely is in the digital transformation space. We are interested in cybersecurity. We are interested in the policies that is driving the digital transformation across the African continent. We are particularly interested in the position of younger people in the digital transformation conversation. Looking forward, we may want to pull up a partnership with one of your decks that focused on business or digital transformation. Yeah, so Evelyn prefers to be addressed as head of programs.
Head of programs. Evelyn, please.
What programs are you doing?
Head of programs. What are your programs to wrap it up, please? What are your programs that you've put in place in reference to the topic at hand?
Exactly. Thank you very much. So one of our programs that happening in June is our digital dialogue series.
Okay.
And the idea is to open up conversations, on really how to close the digital divide, not just in Ghana, but we are also looking at the African continent. So come 15th of June, it's going to be an online program on media, where we are going to, have experts speak to us on the kind of policies African countries should look at, but also capacity building.
Okay.
And all of this come under a bigger umbrella of digital literacy. Because with these discussions and everything, the regular Ghanaian or the African needs to know what is available to me, how can I contextualize this, for instance, and also how can I benefit from it whilst being careful of the risk and the threats that come with digital transformation. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
Divine.
much, Evelyn.
Mr. Divine, are you on?
Hello.
Okay.
And finally, we see you.
Finally. Mr.
You are
Divine.
here to wrap up the entire show. In the space of cybersecurity, what does your outfit provide to the regular Ghanaian or to the youth? Because I see that's where your focus is.
Yes. So it's not only Ghana. We are focusing on entire Africa because our research actually shows that a lot of African countries don't even have a national cybersecurity directive or a policy. And so they don't even know how to govern anything around cybersecurity, data protection, and even deal with cybercrime. So they are struggling with this. And also experience and research also shows that not even the future, today is now technology. Everything is tech, and everything is going to transform into technology. And then not having to deal with the risk that come with it is going to be a lot of issues. For example, now we have state-sponsored cyber attacks. So it is no longer fighting wars with warriors. It is now fighting wars with computers. And we have state-sponsored attacks, some nations trying to shatter or shut down some working or critical departments in some other states. And if we don't begin to build the capacity and actually train the minds of the youth and actually educate the people of our countries to be risk aware and also build capacity in those areas, then we might actually be lacking in the future in those areas should we face any serious attacks. I mean, if our national infrastructure, for example, is hit, then we can't do anything. Imagine Bank of Ghana or let's say, for example, if the Controller General Department today is hit with a malware, so many people would not be able to get salaries maybe in the next 6 months. And what capacity do we have to even actually recover from that attack within 3 weeks? We don't. We don't. We don't have the capacity. And hiring foreign experts to come in, for example, and carry out a lot of the recovery process can cost so many millions, if not billions of dollars. So this is why we think that we are taking the lead in this space, trying to educate. It's non-for-profit, so that we can educate the minds and also encourage the youth to go into technology and especially into cybersecurity.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you
very
so much.
Thank you. It's been a blessing. Don't mind us. I mean, we are who we are. Thank you so much, Evelyn, for joining us, and Mr. Divine too as well. At the final round, we got to see your face. Thank you so much for availing yourself for that matter. To Kwesi, thank you so much. ACDT. We're looking forward to more implementations and also into your dialogues.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. 15th June, right?
Yes, 15th June. Yes.
Okay. Where exactly is that happening?
It's
online.
It's online. Yes.
It's online. It's
All
like a
right.
webinar.
So definitely we'll get details to that.
Yes,
So we
yes,
can participate.
surely.
So is it going to be open for everybody to be?
Yes,
part?
it's very open.
Okay.
It's very open.
Okay. All right.
One of the things we intend to do is also to target the youth and the
Okay.
younger people.
All right.
We are a youth-led think tank predominantly,
Just like us. we're
just like you know. So
Driven
we
station.
have a shared space together.
Absolutely.
It takes two to tango.
Thank you so much, Kwesi, for joining us here in the studio. It's been an exciting, very educative session with you. We're looking forward to other bigger conversations, and you and I will be watching what they do with this deal. And to you who have joined in this conversation, now you understand. I hope you have clarity, and you will be following keenly this conversation as to where it goes. And let's see if the leaders still have us in mind when they're planning out some of these projects. We're moving straight to the plug. We're plugging into something amazing on the show this morning. We have a big conversation coming up. This man has been daring my entire life that he can dance more than me. Today, we will end that deal right here on the show. Now let's plug into something amazing right after this short commercial break. We'll be right back.